Welcome to the Westside Investors Network, WIN, your community of investing knowledge for growth. This is the Real Estate Professionals Investing Podcast for real estate professionals by real estate professionals. This show is focused on the next step in your career, investing. Thank you for listening. And please, if you like our content, rate us on your podcast provider. Just a quick disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are for educational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any shares or securities, make or consider any investments, or take any other action. All right, today we have Wyatt Simon with us. He is co-founder of Full Circle Real Estate out of Omaha, Nebraska. Wyatt, why don't you just get us started by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got here?
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. So a little bit about me. I'm the kid that grew up in Colorado. Never thought I'd be in Nebraska. Used to make fun of it growing up, but here we are. I played basketball at a small college where 5'11" white guys, I'm pointing at myself, go to play college. And eventually I met my college sweetheart, now wife, who's from Omaha. So that's how I landed in this beautiful city. Eventually got tired of working in corporate America. I'm sure, like most people, stumbled across Rich Dad, Poor Dad and started buying real estate. The probably best known for the kid that took a $200K line of credit and turned it into a $20 million portfolio in about 7 years using the BRRRR strategy. And yeah, we can unpack that and a lot of other stuff, but that's what you got.
That's awesome, Wyatt. We have a pretty similar story. So yeah, excited to hear how you did it. So, I mean, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you got started and what, I guess, made you interested in making the switch and why you chose real estate as opposed to some other investment route?
I think like everyone, I just wanted something generating me cash flow while I slept so that I didn't have to work in a job the rest of my life. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he said that real estate was the thing. And so I dove in deep and I got started. The problem that I had to solve first was I was 21 when I read the book. I was 22 when I bought my first property, and I bought a duplex, lived in one side, rented out the other, got an FHA loan. So I put very little down, right? The next piece that I had to solve was like, okay, how do I buy more real estate without having to wait for a 20% down payment? And then spend that, once every 2 years to buy one property. I was like, I did not want to do that. So that's when I stumbled across this BRRRR strategy thing, which, if the viewers don't know, it's buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat, right? So you improve the asset's value and refinance your money so you can recycle that little bit of money again and again and again. So when I stumbled across that, I was like, holy smokes, this is it. But the problem was I still didn't have money. So I was like, how am I going to buy this BRRRR? And so eventually I went to my parents and I said, hey, Mom and Dad, I know you guys aren't loaded and I know you don't have cash, but you do have your house paid off in cash. So would you let me take a home equity line of credit to do this BRRRR strategy? And they said, absolutely not. So 9 months later, they finally came around and I kept educating myself, going to meetups, showing them this BRRRR strategy thing. And eventually they said, okay, we'll try one. And so I was able to finally find an offer. It was my 46th offer. I found a house, bought it, fixed it up. I did all the work myself. 6 months after work, I was just going to the property, doing the work. I threw my back out, jackhammering it. All the things happened on the property. It sucked. But that appraisal came back good. And I was able to refinance it, pay back my parents the money that I owed them, plus interest, plus they got equity in the property. And that was proof of concept. And so then it was just taking that model and doing it again and again and again until eventually I got tired of buying single family and we transitioned to multifamily. We set up a property management company. Yeah. And then eventually now I coach people on how to build portfolios too. So that's kind of the ramp up in a nutshell.
Sweet. The first one, how long did it take?
So it took me 6 months of rehabbing it.
Yeah.
And then I finally placed a tenant in there and got it rented and refinanced. But yeah, 6 months after work, me and a buddy, just rehabbing it.
And what was your buddy a partner in the property as well, along with your parents?
No, he wasn't. So you guys will like this. I am not handy at all. Okay. So like when you say rehab a property, I was so intimidated, but I was like, I'm going to do whatever it takes not to be in a job. And so my center on my basketball team grew up on a farm. So he's super handy and he lived close. And so I just said, hey, Nate, can I pay you $25 an hour and I'll work underneath you? You just tell me what to do. We'll do this thing together after work. And so every day after work and weekends, me and Nate just rehab the house.
Do you feel comfortable now that you could like rehab a house yourself?
No.
So that didn't change.
No, I feel comfortable now that I can budget a rehab.
Yeah.
So that helped with that. But yeah, the quality wasn't the greatest, but it was there. It was good enough.
Yeah. What sort of things did you do to that like first house to really like add the value? And how did you like determine that those were the right things to do?
It was cosmetic mostly. So, we did paint, flooring, kitchen, bath, pretty simple stuff. I just determined that was what was going to add the most value based on what the comps were. So I was just looking at, what were other things selling for? What do I need to do to make it worth that? And it was kitchen, flooring, bath, paint, carpet, the usual. The only other thing I did that was maybe out of the ordinary was it had some water issues in the basement. So we jackhammered up all the concrete that was sloping towards the house and then put in good grading and gutter extensions to get it away from the house to help with foundational issues and stuff. But other than that, yeah, just the basic cosmetic stuff.
Yeah. So having scaled your portfolio to 20 million, what do you feel like the stages were and like the hurdles, the glass ceilings, the big jumps that you needed to make?
God, that is a great question. I love this. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I would say the first step was just knowing how to use finance to be able to scale a portfolio, right? The whole BRRRR strategy is centered around borrowing money to improve an asset so that you can refinance it and keep the asset with no money. So once you figure out that you actually need capital to scale a portfolio, that was the first unlock, right? Now, after you understand that, now you just have to figure out, how do I do the value add and how do I find the deals? And so the next one for me was, how do I find the deals? And eventually I got tired of competing on market and with wholesalers. So I set up a direct to seller system in 2019. And then in 2020, we bought 22 homes off market. In 2023, we bought 25 homes off market. And that was kind of the next unlock was, okay, now we're starting to get deal flow. And then the next jump was, okay, now eventually I bought multifamily. We got into, we had 76 units when I left my job and I started a property management company. And it was like, the next unlock was these assets were going okay, but we fired a property management company, hired another one. They were doing a bad job, fired that one, took it in-house. So it's like, how do we make these assets truly perform like they can? Just third parties are just tough. So we set that management arm up / construction. And I know you guys have done the same thing in your portfolio. So when you're renovating, hundreds of apartments, it's a lot of construction as well. So once you start taking the operations in-house, the deal flow in-house, and you understand finance, I think those are the 3 unlocks that you really got to get in order to start scaling.
Very cool. And so when you say we, do you mind just kind of like expanding on, the team and how that's grown and how that's kind of evolved over time?
Yeah, right on. So I have a partner, his name is Sean French. Him and I own Full Circle Real Estate. So we own, almost 32 houses together still. And then we also are syndicators on apartments. And so we've done some JVs, we've done some syndications, and basically he's the asset manager. He does a lot more operations. I do more deal acquisition and networking, I guess. And then I also started a property management company. So I own Full Circle Property Management wholly in-house. So that's my team with, we've got 5 team members on that arm. So that's the we. And then I've got some JV partners where we bought some other smaller multifamily assets. We've got a 26 unit townhome complex, 2 little 6 units and a 23 unit, a 9 unit and a 12 unit.
And so the team, your partners, even like sourcing your parents' equity or home equity line, like how would you say that kind of fits into the overall journey as a real estate investor?
Teaming up is huge if you're going to scale, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this, right? That's why you're two are together. But you can't do everything. You can't wear all the hats. And what I've realized is you probably only like doing a few things anyways. So if you can double down on what you're good at and what you enjoy, the journey is going to be a whole lot better and more fun for you. And you're going to have better results.
And so I guess, why don't you tell us about how you and your partner teamed up, and just like, how that happened, and then
how'd you find him? Like,
yeah, definitely. So I found him through a friend at church. One of my buddies at church was like, "Hey, you could do in real estate." And this was when I had, 2 houses. And he's like, "You're doing real estate. You got to talk to this guy." So Sean and I met at Whole Foods. I thought it was the weirdest place to meet. He suggested Whole Foods, but he's like the healthiest man alive. So it makes sense now. But anyways, we met. I thought he was a smart dude. Nothing really happened for 2 years from there. He was doing his real estate thing. I was doing my real estate thing. Eventually, I was trying to buy deals off market, and I wasn't being successful with it. I was starting my off market marketing while I was working a full-time job, right? And like my first postcards landed on my honeymoon, and it got delayed. And so, I'm getting these FU calls, and my wife's just like, "What are you doing?" And so I was not the most organized person, to say the least. And he came in, and eventually we ended up seeing each other at a meetup. And I was telling him about these problems, and he was doing his own thing, but he was not being successful with his appointments. He's like, love the guy talking to a doorknob. You know what I mean? And so we then combined, and I said, "Hey, if you can help me with this off-market thing, we'll just split it 50-50 and go from there." And so he systemized it. He's an operations guy. He really systemized everything and was able to book me appointments to then go out and do what I loved, which was talking with people and lining up deals. And that's how it started. And after we started buying, 20 some houses a year, then we said, okay, well, let's do this multifamily thing. And in typical fashion, I started doing the multifamily first. So I bought a 23 unit and a 12 unit and a 9 unit without him. And then we started getting to syndication level where I had a 36 unit opportunity, and I was like, okay, let's finally do this. So he finally came around, and then he became the asset manager for that.
That's awesome. And I mean, did you know that, before, I guess, you kind of came to the realization that you're needing some help, like, did you have an idea or put it out there in the world that you needed a partner at all?
I don't think I put it out there. No, I guess I was struggling. And I mean, at the time I was 20, 3 or 4. So I was pretty young and dumb and just trying to figure it out. And, talking about my issues at a real estate meetup it just happened to be the right time, right place, I guess. I think God had a plan in it.
It's kind of interesting. Like, a lot of people don't want to talk about their challenges. Like, most people are like, I want to talk about all the success and everything that's going well, but being vulnerable in that situation, like, that seems to be kind of what led you down this path. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. And I'd say 2 things on this. I'll also share that I partnered with another guy before this, trying to do this off market thing. And we were the same skill set. It was 2 sales guys trying to do an off-market system, and it did not work. Right. And we left amicably. We actually just had lunch last week, but it was not good. And so when you go to partner, you really got to find your complement. You partner for a reason, because someone has skill sets that you don't have. And Sean brought a lot of skill sets that I did not have.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you kind of outlined the skill sets as, like creating relationships and, talking with other people, and then organization and kind of asset management, and then who's running the projects and kind of hammering out it sounds like you guys are doing a lot of rehab. So, who's in charge of those projects?
It's a good question. So we I'll say this, we do probably more single family now than multifamily. 2023 was tough for us.
Yeah.
There was just not a lot. So we restarted marketing into single family, but for single family, and it's been great, man. We've made more money this year than the last 2 years. So I love single family. But anyways, so Sean does all of our marketing and appointment setting for single family. I then take it from appointment set to close. So going out on the contract, whether we're going to flip it or wholesale it or whatever with it, whatever the disposition system is. And then from, closing to my management team takeover on that. So that's how it works on the single family side. For the multifamily side, Sean is the asset manager. So he's doing the KPIs bi-weekly with our team. It was weekly. Now it's bi-weekly as our assets have stabilized. And then he's preparing investor reports and sending them out monthly. I did a lot of the acquisition on the setup, but at this point, Sean's really doing the management on the syndication side. And we've really just had our assets stabilized now, which is great. So,
it's kind of interesting. You're getting back into single family. We're in different markets. Like we're in Portland, you're in Nebraska, and in the Portland market, where the housing prices are so high that it's very difficult to do a value add and get enough in the refinance to like make it worth it. Like it just leaves a lot of equity into place. Are you finding in Nebraska that you're able to buy at a decent value and able to get those refinance appraisals at what you need to get them to?
So yeah, I can imagine Seattle's really hard. For Nebraska, it's not like it was. I will say that. Like we just can't burr out everything like we used to.
Yeah.
So we probably keep 2 out of every 6 deals.
Okay.
So it depends, but we're at a point now where we were building this passive cash flow thing. And now it's like, we also like enjoying real money now. So like the whole tailing has gone very well. And it's just, when we're getting things at 40 or 50 cents on the dollar, it's pretty easy to turn that quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, you guys did 35 deals in 2023. Are you on pace to do more in 24?
No, we did not. 2023 was tough. We actually quit single family in 22 to do all of multifamily and really stabilize it. And we did a lot of stabilizing the assets from, the value adds that we bought in 22. So a lot of stabilizing. 2023 rates went like this. Sellers' expectations didn't adjust, right? So I don't know how many assets you guys picked up. We picked up 1 18 unit last year. So it was slow and it was a lot of operations. And then we got to a point where like, okay, this is not fun. So we restarted marketing this year for single families. We've done 9 deals so far this year with, not much months worth of marketing. And now we're adding marketing channels right now.
Cool.
Yeah, that's great.
And now here's a word from our sponsor.
Get things done while you're on the move. Learn more about working with a virtual assistant through Offsite Professionals. It's a great way to get all the things done that you need to get done. Have freedom in your time and streamline your life by automating your business. Stop spending time on the tasks that you can delegate and start spending more time on your superpower. Call us today at 503-446-3177 or visit our website at offsiteprofessionals.com.
Uptown Syndication is now offering a syndication coaching program for you to take your real estate portfolio to the next level. This is your opportunity to have experienced syndicators, AJ and Chris Shepard, coach you on your way to controlling your real estate investing future. Our coaching program will provide you with the tools and framework needed to begin syndicating real estate in your target market. Go to uptownsyndication.com today to learn more.
Okay. And so, but your expectation is to do a decent amount of volume. If you've done 9 so far, it's April 16th. The expectation is you're probably going to do, more collectively each quarter. Is kind of going to ramp up exponentially. How do you handle that much volume?
So right now we're building the systems, right? We're not perfect, but I don't know. Sean's not normal. Sean's not normal. I would say I'm not exactly normal. So we're doing a lot right now. And then we build the property management team out so it's operating on its own, right? So like that at least is a relief where we can literally just sign contract, get financing lined up, send over to the team. They handle construction and management from there.
Okay. And I mean, so how many leads are you guys generating? And how many do you convert?
Depends on the week for when the mailers hit. But I would say like we've sent about 30,000 mailers this year. From that, I mean, I could pull it up. I would say we're in general getting probably 10, I'd say probably 5 to 6 qualified leads a week. That is getting, probably 3 to 4 appointments right now booked, which is leading to 1 to 2 contracts a week right now. And like I said, we're adding marketing channels right now. So we're expecting we're expecting this year to be at 30 to 40 houses this year.
And I was going to ask, like, if you're doing like that sort of volume, and you said you're selling 4 and keeping 2, I guess like, is there any way that you've like thought of maybe syndicating to like ramp up scale, or like including investors with that? Or this is just like, we've kind of pivoted to what's been working, and like, this is going to be our business model, and we're just going to kind of scale the portfolio that way?
Yeah, great question. So we have thought about it. We have people that are interested with us, but we have credit lines set up now with our equity that we own. And so we can take down, a lot. And so we really don't need to bring on investor capital. And we prefer to only keep the assets that we want and just keep a successful business, not real estate investment firm, but business. And I'm saying that by like, passive cash flow is only so, but you can generate a lot of money quick on the business side. And so our goal is just to build out the business side.
Cool. Do you think that's short term, or is that like going to be continued long term? Or certainly like maybe unknown too, right? Like as markets change.
Yeah, no, we're going to own this business for the rest of our life. Yeah, we did very well in 2020 and 21, and then we quit it. We chased the shiny object, and now we're back, and we're not leaving it now.
Nice.
And we're doing a lot of stuff like SEO wise and everything. So like we should be ranking very high, and we're not going anywhere. We'll just put it that way.
That's cool. So, but I mean, like if a 30, 40 unit deal comes across your desk, are you still going to use that education that you've learned and how to syndicate and do it? Or are you just going to be like, if we can't take it down ourselves, we're just not going to do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've got an investor list that wants to do it with me because they love this self-managed. To answer your question, I've got a 44 unit right now that we're passing on just because it doesn't fit our buy box, but we're still going to make a good chunk. We just got it under contract, and then we're going to give it to a different investor in our market that is willing to pay a higher price than we are. And maybe this is a good thing to talk about. I would be curious to hear your guys' thoughts, but what I have found is that a lot of people are coming into our market without actually knowing their numbers and buying things on pro forma and outbidding us constantly. And so we are maybe being more conservative than aggressive in most cases. But I mean, I underwrote about 120 deals last year, and we got one. And I'm talking like we're direct to seller, like we've got the inside route. And so I don't know, other people are paying more than we are willing to pay. Maybe we're being conservative, but I'd be curious to hear what you guys are doing and how that's working for you.
We typically have relationships with brokers. So most of our stuff that we're buying is on market. We're in a blue state that is very heavily restricted with landlord laws. So most of the people that come into our market don't have a clue as to like how to manage. And so we've kind of got an inside track and a niche in that area and arena. So because we're vertically integrated and we've been doing this for 15 years, like that really helps with us. And so, yeah, I mean, if you talk to most people, you go to a conference, you're like, yeah, you want to invest in Portland. They're like, what? Portland? Like, that's crazy. So, I would equate it to, I have this story of, I learned to scuba dive in the Puget Sound, and like $6 million hoodies, booties, hands,
It's
gloves and all that stuff.
It's trying to say it's really cold.
Really, really cold, right? And my scuba diving instructor, he's like, yeah, this sucks, but you want to know something? If you learn how to do it here in this like super challenging environment, you're going to be an expert wherever else you go. I kind of equate managing and investing in Portland similarly to that of like, yes, it's challenging, but once we've got it figured out, like we're operating great here. And if we choose to go somewhere else, like it's going to be a lot easier for sure.
And let me just expand on that just a tiny bit. So at this point, I feel like we're getting deals because of our track record, maybe at a lower price than, what some people are offering, which, has not happened to us before. So it's kind of cool. But then again, I would say other times we're competing against other very well-established companies. Like I think we made offers on maybe 30 or 40 properties last year. Like most of the time we'll see a property and it just pretty much say that it's not even worth offering on, just because there's such that huge gap between buyers and sellers. But yeah, I mean, there is a group of maybe 20, experienced investors or groups that all compete pretty hard for deals. And it's really tough to get your foot in the door here in Portland, just because of the management issues. And it's just kind of a hard state to invest in. So
I can see how the blue state would make it very challenging. We are not that.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in your direct to seller campaign. You guys are sending out 30,000 mailers, mostly to single family, but are you getting, is it, hey, we want to buy any property? How are you getting in touch with so many property owners? And then, 120 multifamily owners too? Like that's, how many apartments are in Omaha?
Yeah, there's 3,200 apartment buildings that we were targeting within Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska. So there's not a ton, but there was 3,200 of them. I will say we do direct to seller mostly for single family. Most of the multifamily things I was underwriting and offering on were broker pre-market or wholesaler. And so I would say less than half of those were on market. Most of it was pre, and then I would offer it and then it'd go for 100, 200, 300,000 more than what I offered on it, and it's like, oh, man, I don't know how people are making money on these things, but
even in 2023, that's wow.
Yeah. There was a 60 unit that just closed. That was 600,000 over what I offered on. Just, I don't get it. But
and so
that must be
sales data is 100% available in Nebraska.
The sales data?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a few states that don't publish. It's not public. So you have to get it from the title agency and they're like, oh, we can't give it to you, blah, blah, blah.
No, yeah, it's public record on the county in Nebraska. And then CoStar's pretty up to date with it. And, we built a CRM for it. So I'm going back through them and just tracking these deals to see what I missed. And I just got to a point where I'm just tired of quote unquote missing deals when we can go move from the red ocean to the blue ocean of single family. It's like, I don't regret my decision. And it's not like we can't go pick up and do multifamily tomorrow. It's just, we're waiting for the right opportunity to come our way. We'll say that.
And so what percent of, I guess, your marketing is direct mail? And then what percent is email? Are you guys using texts? What channels are you guys using and what's working?
Yeah, well, I'd say 100% was direct mail for the success that we had. It usually takes about a 6-month cycle to pick up in our experience. And we're using a marketing agency right now that's doing list stacking for, probate, pre-foreclosure, high equity, tax delinquent, all of the motivating factors, right? And so we're just hitting that list with a postcard. And honestly, like someone just asked me this today. They're like, hey, what postcard do you use? And it's like, dude, the postcard matters like 10%. It matters, like what matters more is that 90% is how you react to it. Like how do you actually take that lead and run with it?
Yeah.
Probably matters the consistency at which you send the postcard to. I'm assuming you send them to them like 7 times.
Yeah, we do. It depends on the list. So I would say I'll give this nugget. So when we were buying 20 to 25 houses a year, we were doing one marketing strategy, which was driving for dollars. No ad agency, nothing. We just had a driver that I hired, drove around our city twice a year, mailed the city for all the ugly properties, right? We pinned it and then we mailed the city for all the ugly properties. And it was a great list that we built ourselves. And I think that was the key.
You drove down every single street?
Well, yeah, it was one of my best friends actually, but yeah, we paid our driver to drive down every single street using Deal Machine.
It's a wonder you can't get one of those Google cars and get paid to drive too, right?
Right. Just knock out 2 birds.
I mean, it almost seems like someone could do that just on Google Maps.
You can, and there are virtual driving for dollars. I mean, you can pay a VA to do that for $2 an hour, but your list is not going to be up to date. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Well, that's super cool. That's I don't know that I've heard that driving for dollars like magnitude. That's certainly a lot. Well, cool. Well, I think we are getting towards the end here. So let's start with our last 4 questions. And I'm gonna have to modify this first question yet again. We just interviewed someone earlier today, but the question is, what's one piece of advice you would give to your 25-year-old self? And so I think I've really got to say, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your 20-year-old self?
Well, let's see. I would say quality matters. Quantity matters. So if you're going to be in it for the long game, focus on quality. Don't take shortcuts. Everything will compound if you give it time.
That's good. It seems like that would apply to your marketing of like, make sure it's quality, make sure you're consistent about it, make sure you're doing a good job. And then as things go on and your brand grows, like everything compounds and you're going to get a lot more business.
100%. Yeah. Don't quit something that's working.
I mean, but also, I mean, it seems like you guys are doing a lot of quantity too. So at what point does quality combine with quantity?
Quality, quantity, right? You can practice a free throw 1 million times, but if you're shooting it with 2 hands or 1 hand or a foot, say that, or the wrong way or backwards, right? Like if you're doing quality, quantity, it's going to stack up.
Yeah. Okay. So growing up, what was your first entrepreneurial endeavor?
Hey, all right. Well, in college, I had a buddy that started fixing phones. And you can imagine the typical college person broke their phone pretty frequently on a Friday or Saturday night. And so back in the days, he had a phone fixing business and he wasn't really getting people to generate leads for him or doing a bunch. And I was like, well, could I help you with that? He said, sure. So I started really marketing it. And then we started doing a phone repair business together and just fixing phones for beer money. And that was the first taste, I would say, of the second taste of entrepreneurship, but the first like real one.
Cool. You got to pay for that keg somehow, right?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. The next question. How has your formal and informal training shaped your journey?
Informal training, I would say, is more important than formal training. The formal training I've had would be, like going to college, getting a degree, or going to work for somebody and getting trained there. Like, for example, I got trained in sales at a foundation company, which completely changed the game for me. But the informal education was everything I was doing on the side. And that was reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and applying the concept by Stephen Covey. And going through that every year and setting my goals and accomplishing them and listening to Tony Robbins and reading The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy and just like putting in good habits in my life. I think what people don't understand is that success is built by the habits that you have. You don't just automatically break through the iceberg and become successful, but it's all the little private victories underneath that you have to do in order to get to the public victory.
I think that's great.
I haven't heard anyone put it that way. The little habits to get through to that public victory. It's pretty cool. Okay, and our last question. What was your biggest mistake and what did you learn?
Got so many mistakes. How much time do you have, man? Biggest mistake. I'll go with this. Yeah, I'll say this. So my third house that I bought, so I bought the duplex, I bought the BRRRR, then I bought this third house. Okay. Duplex went great. BRRRR went great. Bought the third house. When I bought this third house, I bought it from a wholesaler, no inspections. Long story short, I was working on it with my buddy and the city inspector comes and says, "Hey, do you have a permit for this?" I said, "What's a permit?" He said, "Let me educate you on what a permit is and a red tag." And so I got red tagged by the city. That rehab ended up taking me 11 months to do because I didn't know how to hire contractors or anything, right? I didn't even know what a permit was, right? I was young and dumb. And then eventually the tenant finally moved in. After the tenant moved in, they gave me a call and said, "Hey, it smells downstairs." I said, "Cool, buy a dehumidifier." But eventually I checked it out and there was poop coming from the basement because I never had a sewer scope and it was Orangeburg pipe. And so after the tenant moved in, after I was $60,000 over rehab, I then had to replace the entire sewer line out to the street, another $14,000. So that was a super expensive property for me to learn. And what I learned from that, my biggest learning lesson was you have to pay the learning tax in everything you do, but you can pay it in 3 ways. You can pay it in doing it yourself, which is the most expensive way to pay it. You can pay it by partnering with experience, or you can pay it by paying consulting/coaches, someone who's been there, done that, to just tell you not to do that. And I choose number 2 or 3 every time now.
That's awesome. That's a great little tidbit of learning through experience, and the one's more expensive than the other. So that's pretty cool. I love it. Wyatt, thanks so much for coming on the show. If our listeners want to get a hold of you or learn more about you, what's the best way to find you or reach you, or how do you want them to find you?
Well, if you want to follow me on Facebook, I'm most active on Facebook. Just Wyatt Simon, WYATT SIMON. I may be one of the younger generations that's still on Facebook, but I'm there. Otherwise, if you really want to get in touch with me professionally, I do coach people. So you can go to WyattSimon.com, WYATTSIMON.com. And I help coach people on how to build rental portfolios. So you can schedule a call with me to see if we're a good fit.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show and sharing some of your knowledge.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Wyatt. Have a great one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Real Estate Professionals Investing Podcast on WIN, your community of investing knowledge for growth. We hope that this episode has increased your knowledge and added value to your path to freedom. If you would, please take a second to rate us so that we can get more great investors to interview. If you or someone that you know wants to be on, please visit westsideinvestors.com and fill out our form to be on the show. Thank you again and enjoy your day.